بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Adaab al-Muta'allimin by late Khwajah Nasir al-Tusi rahmatullah alayh. We reached chapter 2, الني.
Recording in progress.
This is about intention. For human beings, every action, in order to be useful, has to be done with two things: attention and right intention. So if we do things without attention, it's not that much important. Like if I am sleeping and say something, or if I am awake but I don't have any attention, I do things, Attention and then right intention. These two are very important. So when it comes to learning, certainly it needs attention and right intention. So Khwajah, before going into other manners and etiquettes about learning, starts with نية. الفصل الثاني في النية. So he says لا بد لطالب العلم من النية في تعلم العلم. The seeker of knowledge must have intention in learning. Is because النية هي الأصل في جميع الأفعال. Because intention is the basis, is the root for all actions. Yeah. لقوله صلى الله عليه وآله إنما الأعمال بالنيات. Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم said, truly all the actions are dependent on niyyah. We can judge the value of actions, the usefulness of action based on niyyah. Because if you look at the physics of action, you cannot understand the value. For example, if two parties are fighting, both can be for batil, one can be for truth, one can be for batil. We cannot think of two fighting for the truth, but either both sides are wrong or one side. But physics of action may be the same. They use the same maybe techniques, Or for example, someone is working in order to earn halal income to look after his family, etc. Someone maybe is making money in order to, for example, then do some mischief. So physics of actions are important, but they cannot determine whether this is done with good intention, bad intention, whether it's a value or not. If you want to go to the core and to the essence of any action, you need to know what is in the mind and heart of the doer, the agent. So Rasulullah said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Also, وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. In some versions, this comes at the end of the previous section, hadith, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, and some are separate. إِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَى. Truly, for every person is what he intended. We have lots of discussions about niyyah, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in some of them, for example, says that من كان هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته إلى الله ورسوله. Whoever migrates for the sake of Allah and the Prophet, his migration is for the sake of Allah and the Prophet. But من كان هجرته إلى دنيا يصيبها أو امرأة يتزوجها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. But if someone migrates, for example, even from Mecca to Medina, not for the sake of Allah and Rasulullah, but for dunya or for marrying, okay, then his hijrah is not to Allah and Rasulullah, is it to that dunya or is to that marriage that, you know. So basically we have to always be careful about intention. You might have heard that in one of the battles a person who was in the Muslim army was killed, and people called him Shaheed, the martyr. And then Rasulullah said, no, he's not a martyr, because he went to take a donkey as booty and was killed. And then he was known as Shahidul Himar. He's a martyr of a donkey. Means he has given his life for the sake of donkey, some worldly thing. So niyyah is very important. فينبغي أن ينوي المتعلم بطلب العلم رضا الله تعالى. I don't know how I can tell myself and you that these things are absolutely important, because we have heard these many times. There is a worry that we may underestimate and we may think, okay, I know this. No, it's not whether you know or not. It's a matter of to absorb and act upon it. Everything goes back to these few lines, that we should have niyyah of rida Allah ta'ala. We want to seek pleasure of Allah. All our studies and preparations that we make for studies should be for seeking rida Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How we seek pleasure of Allah? By doing something in order to learn, to stop ignorance. إزالة الجهل عن نفسه, wants to remove ignorance from himself or herself. وعن سائر الجهال, also I want to learn and then share, so that I am I'm not any more ignorant, and nor I'll let people who are ignorant without help. I want them also to learn. وإحياء الدين, to revive religion. وإبقاء الإسلام, to preserve Islam, because as we have in hadith, al-ilmu hayatul Islam or hayatul din. Islam cannot live without knowledge, without ma'rifah. Islam has rituals, yes. Islam has buildings, yes. But true Islam needs knowledge of believers. Okay? And therefore, learner is trying to help with revival of Islam and restoration of Islam. وَالْأَمْرُ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَالنَّهْيَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, to enjoin the good, prohibit the bad, but min nafsi, first for himself or herself. One worry that our teachers used to tell us, and I can also share with you, is that first we learn these things in order to improve, but later we may learn these things in order to tell people. So sometimes there's a good hadith, I can say this on member, I can say this in the classroom. But first try to take it on board for yourself. If there is anything good, you are the first person to take it. We shouldn't just think about delivering it to others. So min nafsihi wa muta'allaqatihi, people belong to you, your family, your friends, and then others. وَمِنَ الْغَيْرِ بِقَدْرِ الْإِمْكَانِ, what is the limit? People of my community, people of my city, people of my province, my country, my continent. No, as much as possible. بقدر الإمكان. People of this time, no. Maybe people of future generations also can benefit from you. Yeah? You should not limit yourself. You should grow your intelligence. You know, in Khwajah Akhlaq series, we had several sessions on Niyyah. One of the things we discussed was, as much as possible, try to have inclusive niyyah. In dua we say, وَفِّرْ بِلُطْفِكَ نِيَّتِي. Oh Allah, please make my niyyah grow. Make my niyyah abundant. Instead of saying, I want to help 5 people or 50 people, say, I want to help every person as much as I can. Yes, no one expects you to do something more than what you can, but your niyyah should have no limit. This is why in months of Ramadan we say, Allahumma aghni kulla faqir, Allahumma ashbi' kulla ja'i', Allahumma aksu kulla uryan. Oh Allah, please feed every hungry person. Please give clothes to every person who has no clothes. Please give water to every person who needs water. Please send rahmah to all people who have died. Why? Because we should not have partitions and boundaries in our heart. And niyyah is very much about heart, yeah? Yes, you cannot do all of it, but at least your niyyah should be large. And sometimes it makes big difference. You know, if I can feed, say, 10 people, suppose I have means to feed 10 people. If I feed 5 people, so I get reward for 5 people. For example, the minimum is 5 in 10 becomes 50. Yeah? من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها. So the minimum is 50. Although in, for example, month of Sha'ban, months of Ramadan, yeah, there are more rewards. But the minimum is 50. If I feed 5 people, it becomes 50. If I feed 10 people, it becomes 100. But then if I say, okay, I can feed 10 people, but in my niyyah I say, I wish I could feed 100 people. Okay, how much you get reward? For 10 people that you actually fed, 10 in 10, 100 minimum. Plus 90 people you made intention. You get 1 reward for each of them that you made intention. So 90 for those 90 that you didn't feed, but you just made intention, and 100 for those 10 that you fed. So you get 190. Okay? And now if you can say, I want to feed 1,000 people. So you get 990 for those that you didn't feed, but you had intention, and 100 for. So you see, then what you get from reward is more. Yeah. And if there is no limit, then how much you can get. But this works for who? For the one who exhausts their power, you know. So for example, if I can feed 10 people and I feed only 9 people, then I don't get reward for my extra intention, because this is not real. Yeah, I cannot say I wish I could feed 100 people. You know, my niyyah is to feed 100 people, 1,000 people, because you didn't reach your limit. So you see how much difference it makes. That if you just do your best, after that you enter and open a space. This is the way to make business with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That you do your best, but then after that, just based on your niyyah and His generosity, you can do endless things. So, وَمِنَ الْغَيْرِ
Recording stopped.
بِقَدَرِ الْإِمْكَانِ.
Recording in progress.
Okay. After this, there is a discussion about Siratul Talib. What should be the conduct of the seeker of knowledge? We have to know everything which is valuable has some cost. Yeah, you have to be ready for giving something in order to receive it. Knowledge is one of those things that needs efforts, needs patience, needs steadfastness. فينبغي لطالب العلم أن يصبر في المشاق. A seeker of knowledge must be patient with respect to mashaq. Mashaq is plural for mashaqqa, is difficulties. Alhamdulillah, nowadays, of course, things have become much easier. We have, facilities, we have teachers, we have schools, we have books, everything is online, alhamdulillah. But unfortunately, we have become more and more, dependent on certain things, and we have lots of things available, but unfortunately, our efficiency in using our time is not that much. Yeah, so we easily spend time on things which are not productive. Too many distractions are there. So we need to be patient. وَيَجْتَهِدْ بِقَدَرِ الْوُسْعِ. Make efforts as much as he or she can. It's not necessary to be the most intelligent person, most genius person. What is important? Do your best. Always with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do your best and leave to him the rest. Okay? فَلَا يَصْرِفْ عُمُرَهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا لَحَقِيرَةٍ. Shouldn't spend his life or her life about this dunya which is mean, this is haqir, this is little, this dunya. Amir al-Mu'minin in Nahj al-Balagha shows the reality of this dunya in a very engaging way. For example, in one place he says, isn't there any hur means noble, free person, who يدع هذه اللماذة الأحلى. He says dunya is a lomadha. Lomadha is the food which remains between your teeth. Amir says dunya is this. You just need a person with moral conscience to realize and leave it. Or for example, in another place, he says, your government or governance for me is azhada indi man aftata anzan. The water which comes out of the nose of the goat. Since this for me, ruling over people as such is not important. Yes, if I can do something to please Allah, yes, to help mazlumin, oppressed people, but power has no value. What is dunya and what is the value of power of dunya or money of dunya? So a seeker of knowledge should not be after money or fame or position. People tell me, you are Maulana, you are Ustad, you are Ayatollah, you are this or that. وَلَا يُذِلَّ نَفْسَهُ بِالطَّمَعِ. Should not humiliate himself with tama', with greediness, and because if you are greedy, then you have to lower yourself in front of people. Yeah. So for example, if I am greedy, then when it comes to, for example, accepting invitations, either I have to negotiate with them or I have to do something to make people who pay more, for example, happy with me, or things like this. So I have to lose my honor and dignity. And sometimes also people, whether they know or not, they may not treat you with respect. Yeah, but you should know that you are not working for people, you are not working for money. Yeah, you are doing job of prophets. they have responsibility to show appreciation of what you do, but you are not doing for them. You know, sometimes, for example, when it's a teacher of Quran in the community, or even teacher of Islamic subjects in schools, Islamic schools, sometimes they pay less than even what they pay to others, or they spend lots of money on food, etc. But when it comes to the hadiah, they may not be, you know, that generous. But this is not to stop you, because you are not working for this. Even if they give you, you know, millions of dollars, and you say, I teach Quran, I teach akhlaq for $1 million, you are selling your services, you know, very cheap. So we have to be very careful and remain always like this. Sometimes at the beginning it's easy, but later it becomes difficult. لا يذل نفسه بالطمع ويجتنب الحقد والحسد. He says a seeker of knowledge must avoid hatred and jealousy. You may wonder why these two are picked up. Of course, he mentions other things, but these are some of the things that are very common among people who get involved in teaching and, you know, speaking, etc. That, and deal with community, deal with lots of people, then you may develop hatred or jealousy. One of the defects of knowledge is hasad. So you have to be careful not to let hasad develop in your heart. And then, you know, when you have following, you have influence, this jealousy can become very destructive. Yeah, if a person has no following and he's jealous, cannot do that much harm. But sometimes if an alim has jealousy, then can bring thousands of people with him and can create lots of problem. So you have to train from very beginning yourself, so that there is no haqd, no hatred, no hasad, no jealousy. وَيَحْتَرَزَ عَنِ التَّكَبُّرِ. Also, a seeker of knowledge should avoid arrogance. Humility is very much needed by all people, but especially ulama. Ulama have to be very, very humble. To be humble doesn't mean that you don't have, for example, respect or you don't have dignity. No, to be humble means you don't think you are better than others because they are learning from you or they have less knowledge than you. You don't demand anything specific for you, but you can have all the honor and dignity, of course. Allah would actually raise you in the eyes of people if you are truly humble. So, I repeat, فَيَنْبَغِي لِطَالِبِ الْعِلْمِ. So the seeker of knowledge is expected to be patient with difficulties and to make his or her best in learning, and not to spend his or her life for dunya, and do not humiliate himself or herself with greediness and expecting from people, and should avoid hatred and jealousy and arrogance. Then we go to the next chapter. الفصل الثالث في اختيار العلم والأستاذ والشريك والثبات. The third chapter is about 4 subjects. Selecting knowledge. What do you select? You cannot choose everything. Time is very limited. And then to choose ustaz, you have to choose your teacher, select good teacher. Sharik, partner. In Islam, we always try to study with others, you know. We have friends with whom we discuss, we study, we encourage each other, we share notes. It's very important. It's like traveling. It's better to travel with others, not just alone. والثبات, steadfastness. Continuity is very important. So first about selection of knowledge. ينبغي لطالب العلم أن يختار من كل علم أحسنه وما يحتاج إليه في أمور دينه في الحال ثم ما يحتاج إليه في المآل. You know, our life is very short. Even if you have a long life, inshallah, it still is short. Even if you have 80 years, it is not very common. 90 years, it's short. Nowadays, many people die in their even 20s. People have heart attack in 20s, 30s, 40s. Our life is very short. And what we need to learn is a lot. There are lots of information available. So you have to be very selective. Choose the best. When it comes to subject, choose the best subjects. When it comes to each subject, also choose the best part of it. What you need now and what you need in future. Those that you because we have to prioritize. So first choose what is beneficial, but then among those things which are beneficial, those which are more needed. Because, for example, learning another language is beneficial. Even if I learn 20, 30 languages are beneficial. Yeah? If I learn all the, you know, for example, skills. If I learn how to repair cars, how to repair, I don't know, computer, mobile, it's useful. But I have to choose, I have to select. I have to select those things which are beneficial but also have priority. Those things that I am in need of them. If you have extra time, then you go to things which are not needed, but for example, very useful. But first, those things that we need them. In dunya, there are things that we need for our hereafter, things that we need for our religion, for our akhlaq, etc. In the footnote, one of the editions of Adaab al-Muta'allimin, the person who has organized this version has put some hadith. This is not from Adaab al-Muta'allimin, but to support it. For example, there is a hadith from Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam, which says, خُذُوا مِنْ كُلِّ عِلْمٍ أَحْسَنَهُ. From every knowledge, take the best of it. فَإِنَّ النَّحْلَ يَأْكُلُ مِنْ كُلِّ زَهْرٍ أَزْيَنَهُ. Honeybees take from every flower the best. They take the best nectars from best flowers available. In another hadith, Amir al-Mu'minin said, al-ilmu aktharu min an yuhata bih. Ilm is too much to be able to embrace. فَخُذُوا مِنْ كُلِّ عِلْمٍ أَحْسَنًا. So from every knowledge, take the best of it. You cannot take all of it. And one of the things that you should observe, this is very beautiful, and we can inshallah expand on this next session inshallah. Choose that type of knowledge which is original. His word is this: وَيَخْتَارَ الْعَتِيق دُونَ الْمُحْدَثَاتِ. Those things which are old, not new. In what sense? Means those things which have history, which are original. You know, one difference between us and modern thinking is this. Modern thinking, they say you have to be original. What does it mean to be original? Means you are the origin. We say it has to be original, means it has to go back to the origins. Yeah? So, for example, if there's a cuisine, okay? If you want to make a, I don't know, Lebanese, Indian cuisine, to be original, shouldn't it mean that it goes back to the origin? But they say original means you have to have your innovative ideas, for example. So, we are not against something which is new, or we are not biased, for example, about something which is old. Old and new by itself, it's not important. But when it comes to a scholarship, when it comes to tradition, it's very important to be connected to the roots. Yeah? So those things which have history, those things which have been there for centuries, thousands of scholars have worked on them and created this with contribution of every single scholar. We should not let them aside and now a person comes, says, I have a new understanding. I want to teach you religion. Always new understanding should come as offshoot of this tree of knowledge, this blessed tree, shajariyya tayyibah, this blessed tree which has roots in our tradition. For 14th century, this tree has grown and it has always fresh leaves, fresh fruits. It has never stopped growing. And every person is welcomed to learn and then add, but as an offshoot of the same tree. Not that you come and uproot the tree, burn the tree, and you want to start from beginning. This is not working. So choose that type of knowledge that is Atiq. Atiq means old. Not muhdas, not something which is very new, very modern. And he says there is a proverb, alaykum bil atiq wa iyyakum wal muhdathat. Try to go for something which has history. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that we are against new things, but I'm saying when it comes to a scholarship, when it comes to things which are based on tradition, we need to go to the roots. وَإِيَّاكُمْ وَالْمُحْدَثَاتِ. And you should avoid from things which are new but baseless. Okay? I stop here and I want you to think about this. Inshallah, next week I will talk a little bit more about this last topic and then we continue. We have very important things about trying to learn from the textbooks and texts, how to choose your ustad, how to choose classmate. All these things inshallah will come. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. If sisters online or here have questions, inshallah we can address them.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I have a question about jealousy because quite often we're told to avoid jealousy, or if we have it within us then to remove it. But what's the process of removing jealousy from ourselves?
Yeah. Jealousy is different from ghibta, although sometimes we may translate it also as jealousy or envy, to envy. Ghibta means what? Someone has a good quality or a good gift. I wish that I had it. This is not bad. Mu'min would have ghibta. But jealousy means that you are not concerned about you have it or not. You don't want that person to have this good quality. You suffer when someone has success. This is jealousy. Not that you are happy that someone has success and say, I want also for myself. This is good. So, why we become jealous? Why we cannot see someone is successful? Because our aqidah is not proper. Because it means that you are not pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plans. If someone has something good, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you want it, ask Him to give you. And also thank Him that He has given this to another person. Actually, we should pray that others get everything good, and in this way you can also get. But even if it doesn't make difference for you, just to be happy that other people are happy and successful. We have to get rid of ego. This is the ego that says, I am the only person who is important and who matters. If I have, that's good. If I don't have, no one should have. So the roots of jealousy have to be found out. The roots are lacking trust in Allah's decisions, in Allah's wisdom, to be greedy, to be selfish, and we need to work on these things through reflection. But one of the shortcuts is pray for the people that you feel jealous towards them. This is very good shortcut. If a friend of mine is very successful, for example, in his teaching and tabligh, and I feel jealous, the shortcut is to pray for him, to introduce him to others. This kills jealousy inside me. It's very painful, but it's surgery. Is there another question?
Sorry, Sheikh. I think sisters wanted to know if this book was available in English, if the translation was available.
I made several times attempts to find translation, but I couldn't find. Actually, if you also come across translation, let me know, because I couldn't find English translation. It seems that it has not been translated.
I think on the chat also one of the sisters asked that if someone migrates to a place to be closer to their family or to be able to serve their community or to study at an Islamic center, would that also be regarded for the sake of Allah, or would that have dunyawi intention?
No, if anything is pleasing to Allah, like being with family, serving community, this is again for the sake of Allah. It should be something which you are sure that Allah is happy with. Even, for example, if someone cannot make good income in this place and migrates so that can have halal income, that is not a problem. This is not dunya. But sometimes people have enough in their own land and they just migrate for having lots of money, and then they lose on different grounds. This is not good, because this is greediness. You want more. But if you don't have enough in your own town and you have to travel to work hard to gain enough halal income, that is again for the sake of Allah. Actually, great part of ibadah is to seek rizq halal. So when we say dunya, we don't mean by dunya efforts for gaining halal income. We mean by dunya something which is just to satisfy your greediness. You want more and more and more.
Are there any other questions, sisters? Right, I don't think any of the sisters online have any more questions, Sheikh.
Okay, so
I have one more that's not related to specifically to today, but if you perhaps for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, if you have any advice for the month of Sha'ban.
yeah. Month of Sha'ban is great opportunity for all of us. Actually, as Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli Hafazahullah says, this is the month which is end of our year, because for people who are religious and spiritual, yeah, our year is renewed in the month of Ramadan. So this is our last chance in the previous year to make sure that we have done enough. And he was saying that this is why Rasulullah used to fast in the months of Sha'ban, to tahajjud in the nights, as we say in salawat of Sha'baniyah. كان رسول الله يدأب في صيامه وقيامه في لياليه وأيامه بخوعا لك في إكرامه وإعظامه إلى محل حمامه. Rasulullah used to fast all months of Ramadan and do Salatul Layl every night to respect this month and to make sure that he's getting ready for entering months of Ramadan. This is the months that we say حَفَفْتَهُ بِالرَّحْمَةِ وَالرِّضْوَانِ. Allah has wrapped and covered this month with mercy and pleasure. So it's a great opportunity for us, and maybe the last opportunity in this year, spiritual year, to make sure that inshallah our a'mal that we have done are accepted by Allah. If God forbid we have sins, the sins are forgiven and we are getting ready for entering feast of Allah. So we need to be very alert in this month, do more ibadah, more charity work, more istighfar, more dhikr, some fasting at least, because great opportunity, and benefit from munajat Sha'baniyah, which is great munajat that not only one imam, our imams used to recite munajat Sha'baniyah. Salawat Sha'baniyah, in the middle of the day, there is salawat from Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد شجرة النبوة وموضع الرسالة ومختلف الملائكة ومعدن العلم وأهل بيت الوحي. This salawat is less than a page. I already shared a link on my Facebook about some reflections on Munajat al-Sha'baniyah. So let us also pray for each other that inshallah we would be benefiting from this month, and we would be inshallah getting also closer to Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. 15th of Sha'ban is very important, and birth of Imam Zaman added to the significance of it. Otherwise 15th of Sha'ban by itself is a great thing, like Laylatul Qadr is great, and revelation of the Quran added to significance. But Allah chose for sending the Quran the best night, and also chose for birth of Imam Mahdi the night which is like second maybe night, 15th of the night of 15th of Sha'ban is a very important night. I hope inshallah we can do more also prayer for Imam Mahdi Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif in this month. So التماس دعاء from Olafia.
Thank you, sir.
محتاج دعاء.
May Allah bless you. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.